Premature birth is the #1 killer of babies. Those who survive often face birth defects and complications that affect them for life. For hundreds of thousands of families in the United States, this is the hardest thing they will ever have to face. And it's even harder on the baby. March of Dimes is providing education and support to families and funding life-saving research to give every baby a fighting chance. You can help. Do something today. Give them tomorrow at marchofdimes.org/tomorrow.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill, a breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help, just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
Thousands of families affected by disasters, like the recent wildfires, urgently need support. You can help the American Red Cross provide warm meals, shelter, and hope to families when they need it most. Please donate today to Red Cross Disaster Relief to help people affected by disasters, big and small. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. Your support is critical. We can't do it without you.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all, the few, the proud, the Marines.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
Hello there, this is Nat King Cole, wishing you all a happy and a Merry Christmas.
The joy of living is in the giving. So let's give lots of toys for tots.
Since 1947, the United States Marine Corps has been helping Santa fill his sleigh, making happier holidays for deserving children right in your community. Go to toysfortots.org and learn how you can make a difference.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge. Rod Eccles.
Or bust. And excuse me, I know that over the weekend, a lot more things have. I think there's only one. Is there still one contest that is not decided? I think there may be one. Maybe they finally decided. But yes, unfortunately, New Hampshire, the Granite State went the other way when it came to its national representation. We are, although technically we're now a purple state. We're not blue and not red. But when it comes to the national representation, for the first time since I don't know when, our entire congressional delegation is blue. And if I'm not mistaken, the entire congressional delegation, both senators and congressmen, are all women. Yeah. So, and they're all Democratic women. And most of them are pretty, a couple of them are pretty nasty women. Now, Jean Shaheen isn't a nasty woman. She's not. She's just a two-headed, hypocritical liberal. That's all. Yeah, look, I actually personally, I've never met the woman personally. She's a former governor here. I've never met Jean Shaheen personally. But, just following her, because, she was my governor, and now she's one of my senators. Personally, I actually like Jean Shaheen on a personal level. Now, I can't say the same thing about Barack Obama. I don't like Barack Obama's personal policies, but I also do not believe that personally I would like the man. We would not be having a beer together. I don't know if Jean Shaheen drinks beer, but I'd have a beer with Jean, with Senator Shaheen. That doesn't mean we have to agree on policy. I think she's actually rather, she's very cordial and very nice. Out of all the interaction that I've seen with her, and I've seen a lot here in this state, I actually like her personally. I cannot say that about a couple of the other people that have been elected to national office here in New Hampshire. Annie Custer is one. There are actually, to tell you the truth, there are a lot of people on the Democratic side in the state that don't like Annie Kuster. They say she's a nasty woman. She's got a foul mouth like you would not believe. And Maggie Hassan, again, former governor current governor, newly congressional Congressman-elect Maggie Hassan, who defeated senator. She defeated Senator Ayotte. Yes, that has been pronounced. I don't feel one way or the other about her. She comes across as a phony to me. I really haven't really gotten into the inner. So you gotta try to interact with your local representatives and politicians. Get a feel for them, because once you get a feel for them, their policy positions aside, you will begin to figure out how these people will govern. Now Frank Ginta, on the other hand, now you got to let first impressions just be first impressions. They cannot rule the roost. First impressions cannot rule the roost because first impressions can be wrong. Now with Frank Ginta, who lost to Porter, was it sure? Yeah, Carol Shea Porter. I've always liked Frank Ginta. I liked him when he was mayor of Manchester, even though I didn't live in the city of Manchester at the time that he was the mayor there. But what he did with Manchester was rather impressive. I've always liked Frank Ginta. My personal impressions of Frank Ginta were that he's a very approachable, likable kind of guy. And he's a big guy, actually. He's about 6'2" or so. He's not, and he's kind of this imposing figure, although he's got this face that is very disarming. He's always got this smile on his face. Whenever I've met Frank a few times personally. Whenever I met him, he always had this big smile on his face. But he's a rather large guy. He's not really fat, but he's a big guy. And he could be playing football. I don't know did he play football in college? I don't remember that if he did or didn't. But he could be a football star, former football star. I mean, he's that kind of big guy. He's intimidating and he's imposing, but he's got this very disarming face and smile about him. He kind of looks like a little kid, really. He's got that baby face, too. He really does. And that's probably adds to his disarming nature. But he's rather soft-spoken, but trust me, he's very firm. He knows what he believes and believes what he knows. Trust me. But I like him personally. I'd have a beer with Frank. I'd have a beer with Jeanne Shaheen. I would not have a beer. I'd be a little leery of having a beer with Maggie Hassan. I just can't get a read on her yet. Now, she's been my governor for 4 years now, but there's something about her that says that she's a nice person, but there's also something about her that says, nah, not really. Maybe it's the politics getting involved, but I just can't get a read on Maggie Hassan. Not yet. Personally, I have not seen a lot. There hasn't been a lot of interaction with her. I know I live here in Concord, and she's probably, in my view, one of the quietest governors that we've had. Maybe that adds to the mystique of her. Custer and Shea Porter, on the other hand, those are two women if I got to know them personally, I don't think I'd be able to stand them. Really, they're a couple of. I've heard stories about both of them that would curl your straight hair. But you got to get to know your people, your representatives on a personal level. By the way, the phone number to call this morning is 603-835-3226. Welcome Monday morning, November the 14th in the year of our Lord 2016. As the world wakes up and after a weekend of digesting the fact that Donald J. Trump is the president-elect of the United States of America, elected the 45th, and already, look, folks, you got a bunch of Democrats out there talking about, I got some news here about Maryland and the Electoral College. We need to do away with it. Let me tell you something. When Democrats start screaming that we need to do something, as far as, government is concerned, like the Electoral College doing away with it, you got to understand they really think in their mind that it is going to benefit them. Really. At least in the short term. See, these people, one thing about Democrats is they have a long-term view of what they'll be patient enough to get what they want. Obamacare has been in the wings for decades. But they only have a short-term, all of their plans are short-term view. Obamacare was supposed, they wanted it for so long, but it was a short-term fix for a very long-term problem. Because they knew what Obamacare was what was going to happen to it. They knew that nobody was going to save money. They knew that insurers and doctors and such were going to drop out. They knew the prices was going to rise much faster than inflation and get out of control. But they also knew that in the short term, it would get them what they wanted. Democrats are full in the short term. They will look long term to get what they want, but to get their so-called solutions. But those solutions are always short term. Social Security, for example. If anybody stopped to think about back in the days when they were formulating Social Security, and they did, trust me, they thought about it, and realized that it was not going to be able to go as long as they said it was going to go. It was a short-term fix for a long-term problem. And now look what we've done to Social Security. Now, I know people are saying, well, if we didn't raid the Social Security lockbox and trust fund and all that kind of shit, that's a bunch of bullshit. But plain and simple. And last week I got a full ear from my mother about Social Security. Yeah, Donald Trump's going to privatize and take away Social Security. I said, Mom, no. You got to stop listening to that soundbite crap. There is not a single plan on the table to take away Social Security from anybody who's already getting it. The reality is that we can't keep going the way we're going. Is that at some point it is going to fail. So what they're talking about is those who are a certain age and are already getting it and are close to getting it, they're going to get those benefits that were quote-unquote promised to them. The rest of us who are younger, we've got to be, understand that we're probably not going to get any Social Security benefits. We got to let it go. We got to come up with something different. That's what they're talking about. And my mom looked at me and said, well, as long as they don't touch my benefits. Mom, nobody's talking about touching your benefits. Well, that's what I heard. I said, no. That's the soundbite. That's not what you heard. That's what you thought you heard. And see, this is true going across the country. Now, my mom's not a stupid woman. But she thought that this is what the Republican leadership and Donald Trump was all for, is taking away Social Security from folks who are already getting it, to privatize it. And that's not the case at all. Got to love the media and their misinformation type of stuff. And they do it on purpose. Trust me, folks, they do. They do it on purpose. But no, for those of you who think, no, my mom hasn't been able to stand Hillary Clinton since Hillary Clinton was First Lady. Try to trust it. She cannot stand that woman. Well, now I know where I get it from. I get it from my mother. That type of attitude when it comes to the Clintons. But you have Democrats out there. Eric Holder, for one, and a few others who are talking about, well, maybe it's time to do away with the Electoral College. And no, it's not time. This is the time that you keep it. It's when you got Democrats out there who are starting to sound the bell. Well, look, again, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Well, there's a reason why she won the popular vote. Because she went to these very populous states that if these populous states, and let me name them, California, New York State, if these Illinois, these large population centers, if they had their way, they would, to use the modern term, they would bully the rest of the country into capitulating to their ideal utopia USA. And by doing away with the Electoral College, that's exactly what would happen. See, the founders put the Electoral College in place so everybody would be equal. As equal as we could get equal to be. Period. There's no other way to put it. It gives all the other states a voice in presidential elections. Otherwise, if you're just going to go on population-wise, then they don't count. All the interior states don't count. What you'd have is like 4 or 5 states deciding the fate of the entire country. You'd have California, New York, Illinois, Florida, Texas. Maybe Ohio and Pennsylvania might be able to squeak in there. But everybody else, who the hell cares about the rest of the country then? Think anybody be paying attention to places like Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island or Delaware or maybe Idaho, places where they only have like 3 or 4 or 5 electoral college votes, delegates. You think they'd be paying attention to that? Places where the population is well under 2 million people for the entire state. You think they're going to be paying attention to those states? No, they're not going to pay attention. Some people were saying, well, maybe they shouldn't pay attention to Hawaii, but that's the reason for the Electoral College, is to make things more fair, more even, and so that the president is truly elected by the entire country, not by a few states. And sure, you can look at the general number of votes, but then you got to start breaking them down by state. And better yet, you need to really start breaking them down by congressional district. Now, the funny thing is that if you look at some of these states, California, for instance, if you look at a congressional map of California and which way it voted, for Trump or for Clinton, sure, Clinton won California, but Clinton won California because of the more populated urban areas of Southern California. You start moving north outside of San Francisco, you start moving into Central and Northern California, and that map turns red. It turns you look at Pennsylvania, you've got these little splotches of blue, up in Erie, PA, and Hartford, PA, and Philly, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh, and maybe even Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area. Those places tend to be blue. You look at the entire rest of the state, it's a sea of red. If you look at the congressional map of the United States of America, you will see an awful lot of red. Now, yes, it's impressive to look at it that way, map-wise, land-wise, but it also gives you a figure to understand that this country is in no way a left-leaning nation, that you have these urban centers that have been fully liberalized. That's about the best way I can put it. They've been fully liberalized, and because of that, that's the way that they're going to try to bully and force the rest of the country. Look, you don't see anybody protesting out in rural Kentucky, do you? No, all these protests are happening where? In liberal-run, liberal urban centers. Think about that.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show. Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Get up.
603-835-3226. And that's the number to call should you wish to join me here live here on the Rod Eccles Show this Monday morning. Hey, I want to take some time to thank everybody out there in Rancho Cordova / Sacramento, California, over the weekend at the CFRW fall event, conference event. Had a great time. We were at the Marriott, and the Marriott was having two conventions at the same time there. The one convention was a CFRW, and the other convention was Toastmasters. I got to tell you, Toastmasters, they can be a fun bunch of people. They kept, I'm not going to say they were crashing, but they kept entering the wrong, during the breaks. They didn't, obviously, you weren't in the conference rooms the entire time. So when there were breakout events, the CFRW, they happened because they're California, near Sonoma and Napa Valley. They had wine, and they had a wine reception before the main event, which was dinner and me. I was the main event, but they had a wine reception beforehand, and The Toastmasters people evidently the Toastmasters also had a breakout reception type event, but they kept coming into the CFRW room reception, and then one of the officers of the CFRW they finally got a little upset. Your event is next door. It was funny the way she said it, but I had a wonderful time with them out there, ladies and men and ladies. Gave them something that was different. It can't, if you like to hear people talk, then go and hear people talk. If you like to have an event, then I guess according to them, I'm an event.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not.
It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
And welcome back. 603-835-3226. That's the number that you can utilize to call yours truly, me, here at the Rod Eccles Show. Hey, don't forget, all of you people out there who fancy yourselves as musicians or musical artists, we are still accepting and looking for Christmas music to play over the holiday season, the Christmas season, which takes place beginning after Thanksgiving, so not that Friday, but that Monday following Thanksgiving, we'll begin playing as bumpers as well as throughout the program, playing original Christmas music from you. And if you'd like to have your music listed and getting full credit both on the air here and on rodeccles.net, the website, then submit your Christmas song, your original Christmas song, or your original cover of an old classic, pre-1950s Christmas song. You know, like Cover a White Christmas or something like that. You know, the old classic Christmas songs. If you've done an original cover of one of those, or you have a totally, completely original piece of Christmas music and you'd like it to get some airtime and potentially reach some new fans and get full credit for having it played on the air here, then send it to the Rod Eccles Show at gmail.com. That's the Rod Eccles Show at gmail.com, MP3 format. For full details, go to rodeccles.net and click on the Rod Eccles Show button, and you will get full details, full information on that. We did this last year, and first time I did it last year. Huge success for just about everyone who presented or who submitted their work and had it played. Now understand, this is kind of a juried thing. Just because you submit something does not mean it's going to be played. We got lots of submissions last year, and we did not play everything. I mean, it actually has to be good, at least in my eyes. I'm the judge and jury of this thing. So no, there are a couple other people that get to listen to it too and give me their input. But I'm the final judge, the arbiter of it. So go ahead, if you've got your original stuff, send it in. It has to be in by December 5th, though, people. So you got a couple of weeks left to go to get it to me. December 5th is the cutoff date for submission. But we will be playing that soon. Okay, on to the paper pile here. In my, because I was away at a conference in California, I didn't have a cigar this weekend. No, I'm not having withdrawals, but I'm thinking, it's not noon yet. I might like this. Look, folks, I happen to like cigars. I also happen to like wine, and now I'm very, very much into having a very good Scotch. Whiskey. It's got to be good stuff. It can't be that there is a difference, by the way. Just saying. As with, how can I put it? A lot of times you get what you pay for, but just because you're paying for it doesn't mean you're getting what you think you're paying for. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's good. I have tasted wines that are in the $10 to $15 range that taste better than wines in the $30 to $40 range. Twice the price. Really? So just because you're paying more for it doesn't mean that you're getting something better. That goes true for coffee too, by the way. Has anybody ever had the Dunkin' Donuts dark roast? This is not a commercial for Dunkin' Donuts, and not to put any other roaster or coffee shop down. I'm just mentioning this for effect. The Dunkin' Donuts dark roast, in my book, for my taste buds, is about, I don't know, it's about 2/3 the cost of Starbucks. But I think the Dunkin' Donuts dark roast tastes better than Starbucks. And it's cheaper than Starbucks. Just saying. I got some vets. Speaking of Starbucks, I know Starbucks is not one that's on really behind the U.S. Constitution, your gun rights and vets and things like that. That's one reason why I don't. That's the main reason I don't spend my money at Starbucks anymore. Is because of their anti-Second Amendment and their anti-vet and military stance from their CEO. And look, we've all seen the videos of baristas, berating people coming in that have firearms or who are military or who are even police officers. We've seen them. We've seen the videos. And because of the stance of the CEO, it's hard to say that it is not the stance of the company itself. That's the company culture, which is why I won't support it with my dollars. No, you can do what you want. This is a free country. If you want to support Starbucks, hey, look, there are a lot of people out there that agree with Starbucks' position, the CEO's position. Great, spend your money there. That's the wonderful thing about this country. You're free to make choices like that. Go ahead, support them. You support. I'm not going to do it. I don't care how good their coffee is, but Dunkin' Donuts dark roast is a great alternative to Starbucks. And there are tons of other national coffee chains out there that have coffee that's almost as good, if not better, than Starbucks. Starbucks is not the end-all, be-all of coffee. Trust me. I'm a coffee aficionado. And no, they're not the end-all, be-all of all coffee. But if you support Starbucks, if you go to Starbucks, if you like Starbucks, I am not going to think any less of you. See, great. Maybe Starbucks is your only alternative to getting coffee on the go. Maybe you don't have a Dunkin' Donuts or a Tim Hortons or a Krispy Kreme or something. I've never liked Krispy Kreme coffee, by the way. Donuts, awesome. Pastries, awesome. Coffee, not so much. But I guess they're a donut shop, not a coffee shop. They're more about the donuts, weren't they? But if there's no alternative, I get it. Now, I don't know of any community where there isn't an alternative to Starbucks, but maybe you live in such a community, or maybe the alternative really does suck. I don't know. That's highly possible too. But in most communities across the country, you have an alternative. So why not check out the alternative if you do not happen to agree with the policies that Starbucks supports? Just don't go for something simply because of a brand name or what it costs. That's stupidity. I don't do that. Just because something is more expensive doesn't mean it's automatically better. And case in point, if you want to know about marketing in this country, and this is true of various places around the world too, there's a spark plug out there called Split Fire. Now, so when Split Fire first came on the market, they did some market research. And really, all Split Fire, there's nothing really all that unique about Split Fire, except for the electrode, the tip is split. Usually it's just a solid piece. But split fire, thus the name, they split it. They cut a V groove into this. That's it. Basically, that's the only difference. So, in other words, there's nothing really all that special about the spark plug. You know, they're not using anything special or any special type of equipment or ingredients, if you will, in this spark plug. It's basically a spark plug that they just modified. They modified it. That's all. And so there was no justification from the standpoint of its inventor to have it be a premium spark plug. So he put it on the, test marketed it at regular prices compared to the other spark plugs. It didn't sell. And somebody had the brilliant idea, well, let's put a premium price on it. And they charged twice as much for the split fire as they did for a regular spark plug. And they sold like hotcakes. Go figure. Same thing. Now, this is the story that I got. This was years ago, however. But marketing story. They raised the price on something, and people bought it. Because of this really stupid perception that if it's got a bigger price tag on it, it must be better. And it must be innovative. And it must be, whatever the products or ingredients that go into it must be so much better than the average stuff that it makes it worth that much more. And the reality is that's not the case. You're being fooled. What's the old saying? You can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. Remember that? People talking about that? Well, just saying, folks. You could put lipstick on Hillary Clinton, but Hillary Clinton is still a Clinton. And I think a lot of people saw through that. Did they not? So they realized, hey, she's still a Clinton. Hey, she's a female Bill. But you have to understand that just because somebody portrays something in such a way or manner doesn't necessarily make it so. Case in point, this past Friday was Veterans Day. November 11th. And thank you to all of those people under the sound of my voice, or who could be under the sound of my voice, who served in our armed services. That includes the Coast Guard. I know the Coast Guard is actually not a part of the Department of Defense. They're part of Homeland Security, but Coast Guard is, in my book, is really a division of the Navy, U.S. Navy. They're not, folks. I know somebody's going to say, yeah, they're not part of the military, Rod. I know. Anyway, thank you for your service. For those of you who did serve in the military and the Coast Guard. Let's take a quick call here. 602, you're live on the Rod Eccles Show. What you got? You're not alone. I have heard a lot of people say that about the Starbucks brands of coffee. They are. They're a stronger cup. That's why I happen to like the dark roast from Dunkin' Donuts. I happen to like a strong coffee.
They're more than welcome to kneel, but I have not watched a game this year. Not one. No radio, no internet, nothing. I have no clue what's going on in the NFL, and I don't want the NFL to make them stand up, but I would like the players to understand that they are not protesting a microscopic aspect of our population. They're protesting everyone. They're protesting you, me, everyone in this country. They could have picked a better way to protest, And they're more than welcome to do it, but I'm not going to support them. I'm just not. And that's kind of like the same thing you said about Starbucks. I'm not going to make them do anything, but I'm not going to support them.
You know, I think a lot of people are turning off in the NFL pro football for that. Frankly, this season so far, this NFL season, and my favorite team is still the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have watched exactly half of one game this year. I've watched only half of one game. And it's not because I've lost interest in the Steelers, but I've just kind of lost interest in the NFL period because of what they've been standing for this past year. What they've done to Tom Brady. Look, I'm not a Patriots fan. I know I'm up here in New England, and it's kind of dangerous for me to say that, but I'm not a full-on Patriots fan. But this whole attack on Tom Brady was totally outrageous and uncalled for and ridiculous. 4-game suspension for not even being the one who actually did the deflating of a football, but they thought that he knew that they did it after it was done. He didn't direct it, but they're saying, well, he knew that they did it after they did it. After he played the first down with the ball, he knew it. He had to have known it, and he didn't do anything. So 4-game suspension for him. And they're letting this guy Colin. I know they're saying his name is Colin. His name is Colin. People, it's 1 L, not 2. As far as I've seen his name spelled, it's spelled with 1 L. That makes it Colin. I know people don't like to say Colin versus Colin because of the connotation, but in this case, it really fits. This kid has been sitting down. You know, and then he doesn't even have the guts to go out there and vote. He admits, I didn't vote. Are you kidding? Americans are tired of this crap. They are tired of these wimpy, mamby-pamby, spoiled, overpaid sports stars getting away with all this kind of crap. And I think that's what's turning them off.
You know, on Twitter, Hollywood, I had been waiting for Hollywood to get involved. I couldn't wait, you know. And the minute they did, I sent them one tweet. And I said, you know, it's widely considered by most that Hollywood involvement was the turning point in Kerry's loss to Bush. I've been waiting for you guys. Thanks, you know. So can I go off topic and just tell you my election day story?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, I worked the polls and had no information about what was going on. And I do have a couple of friends on Twitter that were active, and so I picked the two most panicky people on the planet to ask, hey, how's it going? And both of them, one guy goes, oh, horrible, and the other one goes, not too good. That's all I hear from them. So I get home at around 9:30 at night. I got my fast food. I'm finally off the polls. It was a 15-hour day. I'm really tired. I sit down, I turn on the TV, and I hear those magic words. I'm not lying to you, Rod. I'm not exaggerating. The first words that come out of the TV were, not since Reagan have the polls been so wrong. And I've been waiting to hear those words for 2 years, because you, me, a lot of other people out there kept saying, don't buy into the polls. Don't believe this. You know, it defies logic that this guy's getting hundreds of thousands of people at his rallies, yet the polls show him down 50 points. You know, don't buy into it. We have a new president coming, and I love it.
A lot of people are obviously with you on that, and you know, I've always said don't pay attention to, and this is actually not the first time that they've been this wrong. They were even though Barack still won, they were way off on Obama's first election. Obama should have won by a huge landslide according to their exit polls. And then they see the final numbers, and they're scratching their head. Wait a minute. He didn't win nearly as well as we thought he would.
Do you want to hear my conspiracy theory?
Well,
what's
yours?
Okay, here's my conspiracy theory. A lot of people say, well, they wanted to sway. No, they wanted people to tune in. Nobody tunes in for a blowout. Nobody would have tuned in had the polls said, well, Trump's just going to trounce her. You know, well, we already know who won. I look back to Romney. The polls had Romney in the race. People forget, you know, a presidential candidate who had all but given up, yet the polls still showed him in the race, you know, because nobody tunes in to see a blowout. Nobody tunes in to watch Mike Tyson beat the crap out of Pee Wee Herman. You know, they just don't. They're like, oh, that Pee Wee's got a great right hand. You got to see this. You know, it's hype. It's just hype so they can get some ratings.
Yeah, that's part of it too. I agree. Well, thank you for your call. I gotta take this break, and thanks for listening out there in Arizona. You guys, you die next time though. In 6 years, you gotta get rid of McCain before he actually dies. Hopefully, he doesn't die in office.
Don't even get me started. Tomorrow, I'll call in and we'll discuss McCain.
All right. Thanks for your call.
Bye.
We'll be right back, folks.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Little bit of Latin guitar there, folks. You gotta love that sad romantic, isn't it romantic Latin type of, like, what is it, Once Upon a Time in Mexico? Remember that with Antonio Banderas? I know, Antonio Banderas, I didn't realize it before, but he's one of my favorite actors. I just like talking about Antonio Banderas. I don't know what his political leanings are. I don't really want to know what his political leanings are because they usually tend to be very, from Hollywood, they tend to be liberal, and I just don't want to. I haven't heard him speak out about political things, and I hope he doesn't. Even if he's, conservative, I just hope he just goes on, continue to being an entertainer and entertains me, because a lot of entertainers, I'm dropping them fast because they open their mouths and they say stuff that is absolutely inane and insane. Like the latest, Robert De Niro, good old Bobby De Niro. Yeah, he should have just kept his mouth shut. Would have really preferred that he did. All he's supposed to do is entertain me. He doesn't have to tell me about his wonderful political views. I'm just not buying all that kind of crap, you know. Especially when they're so wackadoodle like they are because they're out on the left. But anyway, folks, we got to take a top of the hour break, but don't go anywhere because we've got so much more to talk about. Paper pile. We will get into that full head-on when we get back about Trump, his immigration plan. Hey, who did he pick to be his chief of staff? Are you down with that decision? Well, we'll be back. We'll talk about it.
Premature birth is the #1 killer of babies. Those who survive often face birth defects and complications that affect them for life. For hundreds of thousands of families in the United States, this is the hardest thing they will ever have to face. And it's even harder on the baby. March of Dimes is providing education and support to families and funding life-saving research to give every baby a fighting chance. You can help. Do something today. Give them tomorrow at marchofdimes.org/tomorrow.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill, a breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help, just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
Thousands of families affected by disasters, like the recent wildfires, urgently need support. You can help the American Red Cross provide warm meals, shelter, and hope to families when they need it most. Please donate today to Red Cross Disaster Relief to help people affected by disasters, big and small. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. Your support is critical. We can't do it without you.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness.
Get some rear security.
From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
Hello there, this is Nat King Cole, wishing you all a happy and a Merry Christmas.
The joy of living is in the giving. So let's give lots of toys for tots.
Since 1947, the United States Marine Corps has been helping Santa fill his sleigh, making happier holidays for deserving children right in your community. Go to toysfortots.org and learn how you can make a difference.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Number this morning here is 603-835-3226 as I broadcast live from the bunkerized studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is live free or die. It is not big government or bust. I know I was away for a few days last week, but I did check this morning and it hasn't changed. Nope, hasn't changed whatsoever. Here it is on Monday, November the 14th in the year of our Lord 2016. Friday was Veterans Day. And, of course, there are stories coming in from all across the country about Veterans Day. And about how some people out there in some companies treat and don't like veterans. And I got to tell you, there's nothing more that makes me bristle with anger even, more than reading and seeing some of these stories being told about veterans being dishonored at various places. Just no excuse for it. I'm sorry, there just isn't. I don't care if you agreed with I don't care if you're one of those peaceniks that absolutely disagreed with World War II. It is uncalled for and unconscionable for you to disrespect anybody who served in the United States Armed Forces. Yeah, now you've got you made the choice by being a wimpy, mamby-pamby a-hole for not serving. Now, you think you're so brave and honest and and whatever else that you think of yourself, you think highly of yourself for being brave enough to protest all these wars and all these so-called baby killers. Give me a freaking break. You're a coward and you're a moron. Why don't you want to talk about bravery? Bravery is these people, some of them, we're talking about the war theater in Afghanistan and Iraq and other places, and they have gone back, volunteered to go back on more than one occasion. They've served more than one or two tours of duty in these places. And some of them have gone, this is my last tour of duty, and it's like their fifth tour, and they don't come back. And they know each time that they go, they may not come back. Some of these guys, they don't make it back the first tour. Some of them, they're in double digits as far as the number of times number of tours that they've had in these places. We're talking years, folks. And you think that you're so brave and so fantastic and so honest and so true to yourself and true to the liberal cause by standing up against and denouncing the vet? Are you freaking kidding me? I like, personally, if I wouldn't get arrested, I'd have to literally slap you in the face and say, "Sit down, Sally." And I'd be talking to a guy when I said Sally. Just unconscionable. And any company that puts up with their employees disrespecting real and true veterans of our armed services, they will automatically lose my business. And I will rail against them from here until eternity. Because there is absolutely no excuse for it. None. Now, folks, look, when I found out that Ben Cohen from Ben & Jerry's actively supported anti-military groups with his money from his Ben & Jerry's fortune, I stopped buying Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I know Ben & Jerry's is owned by Unilever right now, but I got to tell you something. Unilever isn't coming out supporting all these groups that Ben and Jerry actively worked against. I haven't seen Unilever do that. As far as I know, Ben & Jerry's, even though they're owned by Unilever, a corporate, they still have basically the same corporate culture up in Vermont as they had when Ben & Jerry owned them. And they still get, all their stock options and everything from these people. Trust me, I love Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I don't buy it as long as they take a stance against our military. I just don't. Now, maybe they've changed. If Ben & Jerry's, the corporate structure, if Ben & Jerry's ice cream as a corporate structure has taken a different stance than the old Ben and Ben & Jerry's, let me know. I'll be more than happy to change my stance on them. But I bring this up simply because we've had Veterans Day this past weekend, Friday, and I got a story here that just had the hair standing up on my neck. Not out of fright, but of just total, complete disgust and anger. And this is the story that I'm getting from Dallas News down in Dallas, Texas, dallasnews.com. And it's the Dallas Morning News. A man walks into Chili's. I know, then there's a punchline, right? No punchline. For his free meal on Veterans Day, Ernest Walker picked the Chili's Grill and Bar in Cedar Hill, Texas. The 47-year-old sat at a table and ordered a burger while his service dog, Barack, I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it, B-A-R-A-C-K, not a double R, single R. Barack waited by, I don't want to say Barack. Nobody's going to name their dog Barack. Barrick waited by his side. Chili's is apologizing for what happened next. As Walker tells it, and folks, hang with me here, okay? Because I've read this and reread this at least half a dozen times. I'm going to read it verbatim. I'm not going to add or subtract anything to these next few paragraphs because I want you to see just how poorly written this story is. It's supposed to be journalism. Now, I had to read it and reread it at least a half dozen times just to make sure that I fully understood it. But it's so poorly written, you can't really get the whole... There's no news here other than the fact that this guy was dissed while in uniform. But stay with me, okay? And this is verbatim. I'm not changing a single word. This is as written in DallasNews.com. As Walker tells it, an elderly white man wearing a Donald Trump shirt approached him and said that he was in Germany and that blacks weren't allowed to serve there. Walker, who is black, says he was wearing his old Army uniform. The man walked to the back of the restaurant, Walker says, and a waitress came up to pack his leftovers. Then a manager showed up. In a widely shared Facebook post, Walker wrote that the manager claimed another guest said Walker was not a real soldier because he was wearing his hat indoors. Now, Walker said he provided a military ID at the manager's request along with his discharge papers. Now, I didn't see the video, but here's... Look, I just want the truth, folks. Now, here's the issue with this. Let's take it. First of all, there's no reporting anymore. Where is journalism? I thought these people were going to school. Here's the problem with this story. Somehow we're not getting all the information. Paragraph. As Walker tells it, an elderly white man wearing a Donald Trump shirt approached him and said that he was in Germany and that blacks weren't allowed to serve there. Walker, who is black, says he was wearing his old Army uniform. Well, when were blacks not allowed to? Is this guy a World War II vet? The story doesn't say. What do you mean blacks weren't allowed to serve in Germany? And since when were blacks not allowed to serve in Germany? And just simply by this guy wearing his old Army uniform, why would Germany come up? There's so much missing there. That's a paragraph, folks. I don't know what the hell was supposed to be there. I don't understand that at all. Next paragraph. The man walked to the back of the restaurant, Walker says, and a waitress came up to pack his leftovers. Then the manager showed up. So the guy did he walk to the kitchen? Did he walk to the office? Did he walk to the bar? He walked to the back of the restaurant? And then the waitress comes out to pack up his leftovers? Was he done eating? Was he being forced to put his food in as a leftover in a package? I don't understand that paragraph either. Was there a correlation between the waitress coming up and this old man wearing a Trump shirt going to the back of the restaurant? And then after the waitress shows up, the manager shows up. Now I've seen a picture of the manager, kind of young to be a manager of a full-fledged. I don't know if he's a manager or if he's some sort of assistant manager or bar manager, whatever. He looks kind of young to be a manager of the restaurant to me. I know age isn't everything, but when you look like you're 25, I find it hard to believe that you're the manager of a restaurant of a multi-million-dollar corporation. Just saying. Now, in a widely shared Facebook post, Walker wrote that the manager claimed another guest said that Walker was not a real soldier because he was wearing his hat indoors. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a restaurant or other places indoors, bars included, where veterans of all ethnic backgrounds, including white, were wearing their hats. Now, I never heard the story that you're not a real vet if you wear your hat inside. Really? When did that become etiquette truth? This whole story. I'm just bringing it. Look, I'm bringing it to you because I know this type of crap happens on a daily basis to vets. But I'm also bringing this story to you simply because it's poorly written. There is something missing here, and I don't think that this guy Walker is being given a fair shake. I think there's something really off with this, and it has to do because he's simply he's a vet. Now the guest also said your dog is not a service dog. Now I want to know how you know a dog is not a service dog. I have seen a lot of service dogs. Some of them I didn't realize were service dogs, but they are. It doesn't matter the size. You know, service dog doesn't have to be a big, burly, protection type of dog. A service dog can be a little thing. Depends on what they're trained to do. Now, I've seen a service dog for a person who was non-military. This woman had high anxiety levels, and she had a small dog as a service dog. And every time she got nervous or it looked like her anxiety was kicking in, this dog knew exactly what to do to calm her down. Now, the dog wasn't a big dog, but the dog was trained to recognize certain symptoms and to do certain things. It was a service dog. And plain and simple. Now, Barrick had his red service vest on, says Walker, and his certified service tags. I was sitting for 35 minutes prior with Barrick beforehand. At this point, I was grossly offended, embarrassed, dehumanized, and started recording with my cell phone. The video shows Walker arguing with the manager about whether he has seen Walker's military information after Walker supposedly gave him. I don't know who carries around their discharge papers, by the way. Just as a caveat. It's highly possible because he was going out for a free meal on Veterans Day that he thought he was going to need to prove he really was military in his service. Okay, I get it. But that's one thing that popped out on me. He's carrying his discharge papers. I don't know any vet that does that. Maybe they have to do it when they're trying to prove that they're a vet. I understand that part. It is Veterans Day. He's going to get a free meal, and thus he's wearing his uniform, and his old Army uniform, and thus to prove that he was actually in the military, he's carrying his discharge papers. Okay, I get that part, but it's just kind of strange that he would have them. Any case. The video shows Walker arguing with the manager about whether he has seen Walker's military information. The manager then grabs Walker's leftovers as Walker talks over him. You have a great day, the manager says before walking away with the to-go box. So he took his food? He took his food? The manager couldn't be reached for comment. Chili's Grill and Bar said it in a prepared statement that he has apologized and is reaching out to Walker. And they say, our goal is to make every guest feel special, and unfortunately we fell short on a day where we served more than 180,000 free meals as a small token to honor our veterans and active military for their service. Hence, these actions do not reflect the beliefs of our brand. We are taking this very seriously, and the leaders in our company are actively involved with the goal of making it right. The restaurant replied to critics on Facebook with similar messages. Walker has responded as of Sunday afternoon that Chili's hasn't personally apologized or reached out to him. He said, I need to be validated publicly. But this happens on a daily basis to vets. And to cops, by the way. Really happens a lot, more often than it should. It's really disgusting. But again, I'll post it on rodeccles.net after the show. But I don't know what level of manager this kid is or was, but all I can say is that type of reaction from management should automatically, in my book, be grounds for termination. Chili should only at least do that.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
That's the number that you should utilize to call into this program. Now, I know some of these people out there saying, well, that's how you can't him Barrack, Rod. The dog's name is Barack. Well, I can pronounce it any way I want to. My show, I choose to say Barrack. B-A-R-A-C-K. I know that's actually it's not. I know you don't spell Barack B-A-R-R. Some people really, you got to pay attention to this show to understand when I'm being sarcastic or not. But I know the dog's name is actually pronounced Barack, probably. I choose to say that the dog's name is Barrack. Well, it's kind of like Colin and Colin. Colin is C-O-L-L. Colin is C-O-L. And Colin Kaepernick spells it with one L. But Colin Powell spells it with one L, and guess what we call him? We call him Colin Powell. We don't say Colin Powell. I have a friend from high school whose name was Colin, C-O-L-L. I know how you pronounce and how you spell Colin, and that's not with one L. Just say, I don't, well, I know, today's educational system, 2 plus 2 is not necessarily 4, but 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. 2 plus 3 minus 1 is 4. That's how they get 2 plus 2 is 4, by the way. Have you ever seen some of this stupid stuff with the new math? What does 4 equal? Oh, 4 equals 2 plus 3 minus 1. Okay, what about just 2 plus 2? Well, that's not always how you get to 4. Doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there. Rod, don't you know that? Well, math is not subjective. It's not subjected to the whims of how you get there. It's pretty much defined. I like to see it now when you're trying to do physics and geometry and trigonometry and calculus so we can get to the planet Mars, so we can put a human being on Mars. I'd like them to see this, to try to get there by using this new math. Okay. Can you imagine? I wouldn't be on that flight, let me tell you. Yeah, the equivalent, whatever trigonometry is. Can you imagine trigonometry by new math? Oh, God.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness.
Get some rear security.
From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all, the few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
That's the number that you should call should you wish to join me here live here on the Rod Eccles Show this morning. Don't forget that Christmas is coming up, and it's a great time to give people meaningful gifts. And a meaningful gift that you could get for them is my book, The Conservative Ecclesiastes, available on Amazon.com. A quick read. Yes, indeed. You can read it in about 15, 20 minutes, but it's chock full of conservative wit and wisdom. And it costs less than a cup of coffee, speaking of Starbucks, by the way. A lot less than a Starbucks coffee. And, for the price of a Starbucks coffee, you could probably give 2 or 3 copies of my book to friends and family and coworkers. And cross them off your list, your gift list. You got them done. You send them a gift certificate, or however that works for sending Kindle books from Amazon as gifts. You can do that, and then you'll have given them a great gift that'll last them and stay with them throughout the entire year. The Conservative Ecclesiastes, available at Kindle as a Kindle download over at Amazon.com. I know. Are there people out there boycotting Amazon now? I don't know. I don't know if they are or aren't, but for the most part, boycotts usually don't work. Now, the only reason I say that is if you're going to use a boycott in order to change a company's perception or policy, more often than not, boycotts fail to do that. But if you just wanted, out of your own personal interest and validation and integrity, not to do business with a particular company because of certain issues, then that's why you should do it. Don't go along with this boycott stuff. When they change their policy, because the boycotts often fail to do that. Far more often they fail than they succeed. They rarely succeed in getting companies. Usually it takes something a lot more heavy than a boycott to get a company to change its policy or position on certain subjects. Boycotts rarely, if they ever do, rarely work. So you have to use a boycott for your own personal belief system. Like me, I will not buy Starbucks. Now, Starbucks is not missing my weekly or biweekly, whatever it is, or even my daily $4 fix, whatever Starbucks costs now. They're not missing it. They'd like to have it, but they're not missing it. Understand what I'm saying? So they're not going to go out of business because now if enough of people like me, if we gather together and said, well, we're not going to buy it, then maybe they may take notice, but they're not going to change their position. They're really not. Something else is going to have to come into play, for them to change their position like that. Because, look, just because somebody, doesn't, I know of people think that people are in business to make money. Well, that's true. Businesses are in business to make money, but businesses are run by people who have strong beliefs. And they will often say, well, this business is about this belief. And look, this radio program is a business. And it is about my personal, strong, conservative, constitutional beliefs. So if a bunch of liberals, if every liberal in this country boycotts this program, I'm not going to change my position. Do you understand how that works? If a CEO or corporate board has a certain position that is against the military, for instance, like maybe Starbucks. I'm not saying that Starbucks is against the military, but let's just use them for an example. Let's just say that Starbucks board, for whatever reason, disliked the military, didn't like vets, what have you. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I've seen other issues I've had with Starbucks that relate to the military, but let's just say they're totally and completely, pacifist and totally anti-military. Do you think that if every single pro-military person in this country stopped buying Starbucks, that would change their position? No, it would not. That's why I'm saying boycotts generally, more often than not, do not work. Because you're not dealing with just dollars and cents here. See, the left would have you believe that that's all business is all about. It's just simply about dollars and cents. And that often is not the case. It is not just about dollars and cents. It is about some sort of deeply ingrained belief of the owners or officers of that particular company. They believe in a certain cause or a certain something, which was one of the reasons why they got in that business. And you're not going, by you saying you're not going to spend your money, that's not going to get them to change. It rarely does. Just saying, folks. So that's why you have to look at these boycotts as being something that you do out of personal gratification. Not to try to change. Not my personal gratification is I know for sure that my money is not going to support some organization or group that I dislike. Plain and so I don't buy Starbucks because I know they give money to groups that hate the military, that hate your Second Amendment rights. So I don't buy my coffee there. Now, is that going to change Starbucks plans and positions? No, but I know that my hard-earned money is not going to go out there working against me. Now, you also have to take this with a grain of salt sometimes too. I mean, is it really practical? You get people trying to boycott Target over their transgender bathroom stance. Like, well, it's just, where are you going to go? Where are you going to shop? Because just about everybody's feeling the same thing. Walmart has a similar policy, I guess. And I don't know. Amazon maybe doesn't have a similar policy because they don't have stores. But that doesn't mean that they don't feel the same way. So where are you going to go? Is it practical? Well, you can slow down. I mean, I haven't been into, not this past weekend, but weekend before last was the first time I'd been in a Target in 3 months. But, yes, you can do things. You can vote with your dollars. You can do things that are practical. You can make yourself feel better knowing that your hard-earned dollars are not going to work against you by doing certain things, but you can only go so far with that. And if you're thinking that you're going to use your dollar to influence somebody else, well, you're most likely going to fail. If that is your main goal, you're going to fail. It's got to be something much greater than that, because remember, after all, just as passionate as you are about a particular subject, so are the officers and owners of companies. Now, for right or wrong, I'm not praising or disparaging any of them. I'm just telling you, they're human beings just like you, and oftentimes we do not see the other side as being human. All we want to see is our side. But you got to understand, I'm not saying you have to agree with the other side, because I don't. But I understand them. Which, by the way, if you understand somebody, you know how best to work with them in order to get your idea across. So if I know liberals, I know how to get to liberals. Hey, look, let me ask you this. You like this government program, right? Yeah. I love that government program. Well, what if that government program was actually working against you? What? What are you talking about? What you talking about, Rod? The wonderful people who believe that college should be free. Well, what if you go to that 2-year college? Yeah, you can get a free 2-year degree. Yeah, that'd be great. Well, why would you need to go to Harvard then to get that 4-year degree and pay $200,000? You see how that's going to cause the cost of college to go up because of demand is going to go up? Everybody's going to get a 2-year degree, and then everybody's going to think, well, geez, now I need a 4-year degree. So they're not going to be able to get a 4-year degree for free. And what happens if you transfer that 2-year degree over to Harvard? They're not going to take all your credits, are they? No, they won't. And do you know why colleges don't only take a limited number of credits from other colleges? Well, if your answer was because they want your tuition money, you're absolutely correct. Because they'll allow you to transfer just enough credits so you will want to go there. But they're not more than likely, they're not going to transfer all of the credits that you've earned from that previous college. Because why? They want you to pay for, because you go to college and you pay for what? Credits. So if a class, is 3 credits, well, you got to pay for 3 credits. Right? So you got to take you got to take an extra class. Now, let's say you've taken 20 classes to get a degree. I'm just using round numbers here. I don't know how many classes a person has to take. Let's just say I don't know, what is it for a day? It's like, what is it for an associate? 60 credits now? So, let's just use round numbers. So you got 50 credits. You got an associate's degree. You went to a public school. You got low tuition or free tuition. 50 credits. You got your associates. You want to walk over across the street to super high price, super prestigious private college to get a bachelor's degree, a 4-year degree. So you're thinking, well, you've already got 50, so that's half because 2 years, so 4 years would be 100. So you're thinking that you need only to pay for 50 credits. So you walk over to that college, and this happens every day, and this shocks a lot of people, believe it or not. So you walk over to prestigious college for a 4-year degree. And you ask them, well, do you take, the credits can I transfer credits that I got from this college earning my associate's degree? And the administration's official will look at you and say, well, yes, and dollar signs in their eyes, cha-ching, cha-ching, yes, we will. Well, let's look and see what we got here. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to use my Minnesota voice because I heard a lot of it this weekend. Flying into Minnesota and to Sacramento. Oh, yes, dear. Look at what you got here. You got 50 credits here. Oh, that is so good for you. Yes, over there across the street at the community college. Yeah, I see. Yeah, 50. We can only take 25. And you're looking, wait, no. I got 50. They gave me 50 credits. I took 50 credits. Yeah, but dear, some of their classes, dear, they're not up to our standards. So you're going to have to take 75 credits here in order to get our bachelor degree. Now, you're more than welcome to keep your 50 credits and go along, dear, with your associate's degree. But yeah, no, you can't get it here. You gotta take another 25. So you think you got 2 years left. Now you realize you got 3. And you got to pay for 3 years. Because you don't have 50 credits anymore. You only got 25. And you need 100. So don't think that you're going to... Sure, you're lessening the cost a little bit, but I'm telling you, once you get the government involved and those schools know that you're not paying anything for those first 2 years, oh, they're going to think you have extra money. Tuition costs are going to reflect that, by the way. They're going to reflect it. Don't doubt me on this, folks. Don't doubt me. 850, you're live on the Rod Eccles Show. What you got, really quick?
Well, Rod, I was listening earlier, and you mentioned that they won the popular vote, and that's including all the stealing, thieving, and illegal voting.
I'm just going by the raw numbers. I know that I didn't even get into all the
Yeah,
I'm just looking at the total numbers
but
right
I'm glad to be able to.
Yeah, that's classic. Is this incredible? Now all of a sudden, because Hillary's wearing purple, they're thinking, well, purple means we're trying to bring the country together. Are we falling for this, folks?
When they put her up and they take her down, it's colors. That's what's yelled.
Yeah, it's definitely the colors. I know they tried to, and they're trying to say, oh look, she was wearing purple, and who else was wearing purple?
Well, they should have. Somebody should have kicked her butt up around her ears a long time ago. All the people that she's been able to run over and put in the ground. It's ridiculous, and they think they're good at it. We saw he died. Well, that just goes to show you that when she can get away with it legally, she's just so out in the open and happy about it. And you can imagine the celebrations that go on when they really roll over somebody and they just leave the body laying and there's no fingerprints.
Yeah, but now she's so depressed. They can't console her. She's been crying a lot lately. I'm hearing stories that she's still crying uncontrollably.
Maybe she'll refuse to eat and just wither away. Or we could send her to Venezuela and she could fix that place, right? Because it's James Carville that ruined Venezuela when he got Hugo Chavez elected. Everything they touch turns to crap.
Well, that is
Ehud Barak. James Carville got Ehud Barak elected in Israel. Bibi got canned, and fireworks started to fall. I got to give their Iron Dome credit. That's pretty good stuff. But I'm sure that it was our basis that they worked from.
I'm not shocked because I'm not surprised by their attempt to try to. Now that they realize that they were totally dismissed as far as on the national and even a lot of local races are concerned.
Here's a public works project, Rod. Did you go over to Hill into Reno when you were in Sacramento, or did you just stay local?
No, I was in Rancho Cordova actually, so I didn't. I don't get the chance often to venture out and check things out on my own, but. No,
well,
I did
I'll
not.
tell you what, Reno was a great town, and it still has possibilities. But San Francisco and the $1.5 million bungalows, that when those people ran to Reno to get away from California, the realtors knew they carried that money with them. But, hey, here's a public works project, Rod, for Trump. Desalinization on a massive scale. Pump it up on the top, a Donner Pass, and feed it over both sides, gravity feed. Clean water, desalinated right out of the ocean.
Well, we got plenty of ocean water, but it is kind
Got
of
a
costly.
big hill to
though.
pump it off of, too. I'll tell you. Everything's right there waiting to happen, and we need to start thinking like that. You know, your water bill would go down exponentially because you wouldn't have to have Joe Don Danny digging up the street. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Romans could do it. I guess we could do it too. Well, I got to run,
Thanks
my
for
friend.
the time, Ron.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back, folks.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, L-Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Now you gotta understand that even though the Clintons really lost this time around, they're not going away, by the way. No, they're not going away. Not going away at all. Tomorrow night, is something that is called the supermoon is taking place. So hopefully in your area it is going to be clear skies. But of course, looking at the weather map for my area, it is going to be cloudy and rainy. Sunny today, sunny on Wednesday, but cloud and rainy on Tuesday, which is supposed to be the night to see the real super moon. I guess it's supposed to be the biggest or the closest moon is to, in the past, 60 years or something like that? It won't happen again. It won't get this close again until after 2100. Did I read that right? I don't know. I'm not an astroscientist, but I just happen to know when the moon looks big, it looks really big. And tonight it's supposed to be a supermoon, and it's supposed to look really, really big. So it's going to be a very bright moonlit night out there for those people who are not under cloudy skies. But unfortunately, here in New England, it looks like we're going to be under cloudy skies. Oh well. Hold on, folks. We've still got an hour to go. We'll be back.
Premature birth is the #1 killer of babies. Those who survive often face birth defects and complications that affect them for life. For hundreds of thousands of families in the United States, this is the hardest thing they will ever have to face. And it's even harder on the baby. March of Dimes is providing education and support to families and funding life-saving research to give every baby a fighting chance. You can help. Do something today. Give them tomorrow at marchofdimes.org/tomorrow.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill, a breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help. Just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
Thousands of families affected by disasters, like the recent wildfires, urgently need support. You can help the American Red Cross provide warm meals, shelter, and hope to families when they need it most. Please donate today to Red Cross Disaster Relief to help people affected by disasters, big and small. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. Your support is critical. We can't do it without you.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
Hello there, this is Nat King Cole, wishing you all a happy and a Merry Christmas.
The joy of living is in the giving. So let's give lots of toys for tots.
Since 1947, the United States Marine Corps has been helping Santa fill his sleigh, making happier holidays for deserving children right in your community. Go to toysfortots.org and learn how you can make a difference.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Studio, somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. And the number for you to call is still 603-835-3226. And we still are talking about the stuff that matters. For instance, what do you people think about Priebus? Is it Reince or Rince? Priebus now being, there's a guy, I don't know how to pronounce his first name. I have yet to hear him actually pronounce his name. Can somebody get him on the line and straighten this out once and for all? Because I've heard people call him Reince. I've heard people call him Rince. I don't know how you pronounce his name now. I've never heard him pronounce it. So can somebody get him on the line and say, hey, Reince, can you please once and for all tell us how to pronounce your first name? I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he. Obviously, what really counts is how he pronounces it. So he would have the correct pronunciation. To a degree, I know some people who. It's like the Stephen and Stephen thing. You're saying, "Well, hi, Stephen, Stephen, please, Stephen." Well, we always pronounce it Stephen. Well, technically it is Stephen. I know people have pronounced Stephen. is often pronounced Stephen. Technically it's Stephen. In this country, we say Stephen, but in places where the name really comes from, it's Stephen. Because it's not Stephanie, it's Stephanie, is it not? For the female version, Steph. It's Stephanie, not Stephanie, right? I'm just saying. So I don't know how you pronounce his name, his first name. But let me just ask you, what do you think of Reince Priebus being the chief of staff for Donald Trump? Chose Reince, the GOP chair of all. I'm not sure that he's folks, I got to tell you, Donald Trump is not going to do things that people expect. He's not. He's going to put some GOP. He's going to have some GOP in. So I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed because they're going to think, well, Reince is an insider, man. He's a GOP insider. He's part of the establishment. What's Trump doing? Trump is anti-establishment. What's he doing putting Reince, an establishment guy, in his cabinet, man, and in his office, in his White House, and as his chief of staff? What's going on? Because Trump isn't going to do things like the establishment expects, and he's not going to do things like you anti-establishment people think that he should do. I don't know his game with having Reince. It would seem to me that there would be people that were stronger, emotionally stronger, but you also got to realize that Reince and Paul Ryan are very good friends. Didn't they go to school together or something? They're like childhood friends. They've been friends since childhood. They're very good friends. They're close. So it could be that Trump is not a dumb guy. He's very smart. Could be like that he's looking to shore up Ryan's. Ryan is not very popular at the moment, so it could be that Trump is trying to shore up Ryan a little bit so Trump can get what he wants out of the House. Now, I'm just speculating here, but it seems to me like this is a calculated move by the Donald. Now, I'm sure he probably had some input from other, insiders of the Trump organization, the growing Trump organization, that were probably, they probably gave him their 2 cents on a number of different people that he was probably considering or choosing from. And somebody probably said, this guy would be a good pick for your chief of staff simply because of X, Y, and Z reasons. And Trump said, yes, very good idea. So, look, Trump isn't surrounding himself by a bunch of stupid people. I am sure that there's calculations behind every appointment that he's going to make. We may not agree with all those calculations, but I believe that that's what he's doing, and I think that this is a nod to try to make things more nicety nice with Ryan, so he can get more of his agenda pushed through the House. Don't doubt me on this, folks. Trump is learning how to play the political game and how to strike deals. He already knows how to strike deals. He already knows. But he's learning how to play the political game and make political deals in Washington, D.C., and he's learning very fast. This could be... Now, I guess this could go either way to the extreme. This could be a disastrous thing that that he makes Priebus the chief of staff, or it is one of the most shrewd business and political maneuvers Washington has ever seen. One way or the other, I think Donald's going to get a lot of what he wants. The question is did he really want what he said he wanted? And is he going to go through with trying to get what he said that he wanted? And some people are starting to wonder, because is he backing off on getting rid of Obamacare? Because, his statements, well, some parts of Obamacare might be okay. Really? What parts? I don't see any part, personally. I don't see any part of Obamacare that's good to keep. None of it. Get rid of all of it. The whole damn thing. How many pages is it? It's a few thousand pages. Get rid of all few thousand pages. Just get rid of it. Don't try to pick and choose. Just say the whole thing is repealed, and then say the whole thing is unconstitutional. Just say it. Do it. Get rid of it. And for those of you who have these wonderfully high expectations of Trump, let me tell you something. You're gonna be disappointed, not because Trump is going to do what Trump is going to do, but because you have this over expectation of perfection that was never there or intended to be there by Donald Trump. Will President Trump actually go through with everything that he promised? Well, some of that stuff we know that he can't really promise, because he's got to go through Congress to do it. Is he going to be able to get Congress to go along with him? Not on everything. Understand, even when the Congress is run by the GOP, I got to understand, Trump is not going to get everything. So is he reneging on his promise if he can't get everything? No. If he honestly tries and can't do it, that's a different story from not trying, obviously. But folks, you got to manage your expectations back, and you got to bring those expectations down to reality. He's not a god. He's not a dictator. He's not a potentate. He's only a president, and he's got to work with Congress. Plain and simple. Those are the people you should be concentrating on. Is your local senators and congressmen. Those are the people that need to be constantly watched and pressured into doing the right thing. So Priebus is either a disaster waiting to happen or one of the most shrewd, successful political appointees in the history of Washington, D.C. We'll see. Well, we'll see soon enough as the Trump administration takes shape over these next couple of months. We shall see. I don't have now, it is kind of interesting because Reince did go to, I'm just going to say that he pronounces his name Reince. I hope that's the correct way that he pronounces it. Look, I understand people getting their names pronounced wrong, and a lot of people don't like it. And it just shows a little bit of personal respect towards a person to actually pronounce their name properly. I'm trying to. I'm not really trying to mispronounce his. You'll know when I'm being sarcastic and mispronouncing somebody's name on purpose. I'm trying to pronounce this guy's name properly, and I don't know if it's Reince or Reince. I'm going to assume, I could, be taking apart that word assume. You know what that stands for, right? Assume. In the word assume, there is the word blankety blank blank blank. You know how that works. So, hopefully, I'm not doing that to you and me by pronouncing it Reince. I'm not even sure what ethnic group, in other words, country that comes from. I'm not. It's not French, is it? Is Priebus French? That's not French. What is? Does anybody know Reince Priebus's ethnic heritage? I don't know. I don't know where the name comes from. It doesn't matter really. But he's been this insider for a while. And during we could see that there was a softening of the RNC stance with Donald Trump after Trump got the nomination. Look, they were trying to, they weren't really helping Donald at first. And then all of a sudden, Reince was like, well, Donald's, maybe we should have saw this coming. Because Reince did come to the defense of Trump a couple of times. Maybe they struck a deal, a while ago which is why Reince had his whole demeanor about Trump change. Baby, let's make a deal. You do what I say, you can get what you want. We could have everything. That's a song by Avant, by the way. Let's make a deal. So maybe that's exactly what Trump and Priebus did. They made a deal a while ago, and this is expected from inside the Trump camp, but for the rest of us on the outside looking in, it's kind of a surprise. Well, there you have it. Now, I don't know. Is Priebus going to step down from his RNC? The RNC is a full-time job, is it not? The RNC chair? I do believe, unlike the Democrats, I don't think that the Democrats are calling for their chair to be a full-time position. Why? So they can screw up on a full-time basis instead of just a part-time basis? I'm sorry. I shouldn't be picking on the Democrats that way in there. You don't kick your enemy or your opponent when they're down. No, you just run up the score. You want to make it a blowout. Blowouts are so terrible. I know. I've been on both ends of a blowout. Let me tell you, it's great to, let's say for basketball, for instance. I've been on teams where we were defeated by 30 points. I've been on teams when we won by 30 or 40 points. Yeah, I like that feeling of winning by 30 or 40 points. After a while, it gets kind of boring when you're playing the game, and you're a starter, which I was, and you run up the score at the first half, and then you know that you've done your job when you sit out for the last quarter and a half. You start out the third quarter in the basketball game. Halfway through, you're still up by 20 or 30 points. Your coach sits down the starters and lets everybody else play for the next quarter and a half. And unless they lose that, and the other team is keeping their starters in. It's happened before where the starters came out and the second string and third string lost the lead, and the starters had to go back in. And when you're sitting on the bench for a while and you're cold, it's kind of tough to get back in the game, but you do. But that doesn't happen. That didn't happen very often. We're that far ahead that the second and third string lost the lead. It's kind of expected that they would lose a little bit of ground because they're playing, the second, third string, which is not supposed to be your best players, is playing against the other team's best players, their first string, unless that coach just concedes and throws in his second and third string just to play the game, finish the time clock. But I think it should be a blowout. We shouldn't be. I'm not saying step on their necks with your boot at this particular point, but blow them out. Just dispatch your rival without any regress whatsoever, and don't feel bad about it, because they would do the same to you. Plain and simple. They would. And they wouldn't even think twice about it. Mexico, by the way, this is from France24.com. Notice you're not getting a lot of this stuff. Some of this stuff I'm getting from foreign sources, and you're not getting a lot of this from domestic sources. But Mexico moves to help migrants after Trump win. They're not migrants. The headline should read, Mexico moves to help illegal immigrants after Trump wins election. That's a good thing. Mexico scrambling to ready its diplomats in the U.S. to handle millions of documented migrants' potential needs. No, what? I'm not using this undocumented migrant crap. So the diplomats in the U.S. from Mexico are need to handle potentially millions of of illegal immigrants, potential needs following Donald Trump's election, its foreign ministry said, yes, they're going to need help on how best to get back to their country of origin. In other words, Mexico, if that's where they're coming from. And I'm not going to use this word I don't care if they're documented or undocumented. If they're illegal, they're illegal. Did you know you can be a documented citizen and still, or a documented immigrant and still be here illegally? Yeah. So I don't want to hear any more of this undocumented crap. I'm talking all illegals. They all need to go. And hopefully Trump is not softening his stance on that.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
So I got the deal on Wright. That's his nickname, by the way, for those who did not know. All I had to do was just do a little bit of investigating, I guess, on this guy. He's of German-Greek descent. His parents are German and Greek descent. They're Americans, but they're of German and Greek descent. And his name is actually Reinhold Richard, which gave a clue to him as being at least part German with the name Reinhold. Is Reince the nickname for Reinhold? You know, kind of like Dick is a nickname for Richard. And Bill is a nickname for William. I don't know how some people get how some of these nicknames come about, but Richard is Dick. Why? And Bill for William. I don't understand that one either. But yeah, he's Reince is nicknamed for Reinhold, so he's Reinhold Richard Priebus. So it would mean that it would be pronounced Reince for Reinhold, I guess. I don't know. I don't care. I don't really care what he calls himself or what his name is. I just want to make sure it gets pronounced correctly. But since it's just a nickname, maybe it really doesn't matter so much that you get the nickname pronunciation right. I thought it was his real first name, but evidently his first name is Reinhold, not Reince. But in any case, the indication here is that Trump is making some political, decisions that are pretty savvy, for this political outsider and novice rookie. He's already making some pretty savvy political moves and appointments. And I'm going to be looking on to see what other appointments and other decisions that he makes before he gets into the White House in January. Should be an interesting couple of months, folks.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
$3226. That is the number to call should you wish to join me here live here on the Rod Eccles Show. One of the things that, Mexico here is moving to help illegal immigrants here in the USA after the Trump win, because Trump has, basically said that illegals are going to be going back. And one of the cases in point that we're already starting to see in numbers large enough to notice that I guess that people are preparing to self-deport. In other words, they're getting ready to go back all on their own. And Trump said that some of this would happen. Even though I know it's almost a week old now, I'm still looking forward. Well, not looking forward because it's actually now it's President Trump. Just unbelievable, real almost. And I know some people say, well, I wasn't shocked at all. I'm not surprised. Well, I am. And not because of the polls, but because the American people were able to overcome, as one of the callers said earlier today, when I said that the Clinton had the popular vote. And he goes, well, you can't really count that because we know that there was some cheating going on, basically. I know that there was cheating. We know that a lot of those votes are not real that were for Clinton. We don't know the full scope. We probably may never know the full scope of the cheating that went on this election. And it was pretty rampant, by the way. And it was pretty obvious in certain voting districts, too, that cheating was happening. So it's highly possible that maybe Clinton didn't win the popular vote, the honest popular vote. But that we were able to overcome, because this wasn't a record turnout vote. Some states it was record, but it wasn't overall it wasn't a record voter turnout. So it is a little surprising that Trump actually won based on this not being a record turnout. But Clinton just didn't get the same kind of support that Obama got from Democrats. But so I suppose when you're actually digging into and looking at the numbers, it's not all that surprising. But in any case, Mexico is scrambling to ready its diplomats in the United States to handle millions of undocumented migrants, read as illegal immigrants, potential needs following Donald Trump's election. Its foreign ministry said. The ministry's North American team huddled with Foreign Minister Claudia Ruiz Massieu Saturday to analyze the results of the U.S. election and discuss concrete actions concerning the future of the bilateral relationship between the two countries. Look, Missy, what we're going to do is we're going to find out who the illegals are here, and no matter where they came from, be they Mexico or Brazil or Honduras or Guatemala or Panama, wherever they Ecuador, doesn't matter where they come from, they're going back. They're getting kicked out. And by the way, we're going to put up a wall. Although Donald has said recently over the weekend that some sections of the wall may be a fence. I don't care if it's a fence or a wall. I'd rather see a good solid wall. But I'll take a fence if it's going to slow these people down at all and stem the flow and the tide of these people crossing our border so easily. If a fence, if that's what it's going to take, I'll use a fence for now. I still say it doesn't have to be pretty for much of the way. If the wall is going through certain, near certain cities or neighborhoods, you might want to dress it up a bit, I suppose, make it look halfway decent. But it does. The whole length of the wall doesn't have to be so pretty. It could be, those metal grates, those giant piling grates that they use to hold back earth when they're building bridges and stuff. You know what I'm talking about. They stand up vertically, and you got this big crane machine that basically is a hammer that hammers these things into position. And they're made of, really heavy-duty metal, and those are the things that we should be using to build our fence or wall, because it's quick. It's not pretty. It's quick. It's strong. Is it impervious? No. Is it foolproof? No. But will it work? Yes. Will it stem the tide? Yes. Is it fast? Can be. Is it free of political nonsense? Well, no, because it's a wall. But it's fast. It's fairly inexpensive. And you can, because part of the problem is that we find these tunnels going under the border that are, anywhere from 5 to 15 feet deep. Well, these things, they can be 100 feet long, and therefore, you could bury them, I guess maybe they're not 100 feet long, but they're pretty long, so you could bury them, probably a good 5 to 10 feet into the earth, as well as have them standing up about 20 to 30 feet in the air. Well, if somebody's going to dig under it like that and go that deep, and basically get into mining, it doesn't matter what you're using. They're going to be able to do. You could build a regular wall, and they're going to mine underneath it and go under. That's just going to happen. But for the most part, are most of them going to do that? Nope. Not at all. So you get places around the world, and there's a story here in the paper pile. Let me see if repealing Obamacare, maybe not. Maryland, no. By the way, did you know that a beer a day can help prevent heart disease, heart attack, and stroke? Yeah, yes, I have the story here, and we'll get to that shortly. Before we leave here today, I'll tell you all about that. But first of all, really need to find that story. There it is. About the Trump win and what the rest of the world is thinking about it. Well, evidently the globalists are having a fit. The global and we now know who are not globalists. And this is from the Financial Times. Britain and France snub emergency EU meeting over Trump election. Yes, it seems that Britain and France don't really care what the rest of the EU has to say or think about the Trump's election. And yeah, I know France, right? But I don't believe Hollande is not very much of a globalist either, and we know that the Brits aren't because they did the Brexit thing, and France. It has been rumored that France might be next to do a Brexit. Of course, they'd call it a Frexit. France do it because the French aren't going to do anything British. They're going to do their own. They're going to do the French thing. It's going to be a Frexit. If France were to do the same thing. They are French after all. The French don't follow the Brits. Such a contentious relationship, historically speaking, of those two countries. No, they're not following this notion that it's going to be all bad with Donald Trump, and this is because you have the EU, which is full of globalists, and Trump is anti-globalist. Britain is anti-globalist, and now we're learning that really Hollande in France is moving towards the anti-globalist sector as well, and they're in good company actually, because Xi of China and Putin of Russia are also anti-globalist. Now, I'm not saying I agree with them politically, because they're both socialist, communist, if you will. And France is kind of Hollande is a socialist. So it's not that I'm really agreeing with them on their personal political level, but they are also rejecting this globalist, centralized world government notion as well. There's got to be a reason for that. Well, because it doesn't work. But besides that, so yeah, Britain and France are not going along with the globalists, and they're not going to be attending any emergency EU meeting over the Trump election. See, the global, not the world, the globalists are the ones that are flipping out because they don't see Trump as being a globalist like them. In fact, it might be just the opposite, and they probably know this. As it is with, but you're not going to, you're not going to get these people to stop with their wanton destruction of freedom. Even though Trump is basically saying, well, these illegals are going back. You've got a number of cities that are vowing to remain sanctuary cities here in the USA. And look, there's a simple way to stop this. You just cut off any federal assistance whatsoever. All federal assistance to not only the city, but to the state that allows the city to operate freely that way. Well, how are you going to stop it, Rod? How is the state going to stop it? Well, they better be able to control their own territory. I mean, the governor could go into a city mayor and say, look, you're going to play ball here. You're going to have some real problems. Plain and simple. You're not going to get the money that you thought. You're not going to get the services that you need for your constituency. You got to follow the law. That's all there is to it. You get them, and if they don't, then maybe you got to arrest a few mayors to get the point across. I know some libertarians are probably going to go all up in arms about that, but let me tell you something. If the law is a law, then that's what you follow. When it comes to protecting our borders and protecting the people, we just can't let anybody stay just because you think it's so unfair that they got to go back. Well, they got to go back. Plain and simple. I don't know what else to tell you about that one, folks. They got to go back. They're illegal. They got to go back. From whence they came. Plain and simple. So we got to stop this sanctuary city stuff. We got to stop this this sanctuary city stuff. We really do. In any case, so the Trump immigration plan is on the table, it looks like, and basically what President-elect Trump is saying is that he's going to utilize he's got some broad powers to crack down, but he's going to utilize a system that Barack Obama thought or said their claim that he was using. First of all, Trump is going to go after the criminal element, those that have already been caught in breaking other laws besides immigration laws. They will be the first ones to, and they'll be the easiest to get rid of. Let's put it that way. They'll be the first and the easiest, but they won't be the last. Trump will be able to utilize broad powers. And he even said at a press conference that he plans to deport about 2 to 3 million undocumented or illegal immigrants. On an interview with at CBS, he says, "Yeah, we're gonna get rid of 2 to 3 million of them almost immediately." Well, it's not going to be immediately, as in Trump takes office, takes power January 20th, and then on January 21st, you see 2 million people leave the country or getting kicked out. No, it'll take a little while. But you're going to start to see them go, both voluntarily and involuntarily. So that by the time Trump's tenure is up, depending on who comes after him, if it's another Republican, strong conservative Republican like Pence or like maybe a Cruz or a Jim Gilmore, you won't see them coming back. They'll be gone and they'll stay gone. I know some people are probably surprised out there. I just mentioned Ted Cruz for 2020. Look, I could be wrong. I'm not always right. I'm almost always right. But I think Donald Trump will choose to only serve one term. At this juncture, I think unless something happens where he does not feel like he got a fair shake to get his agenda going, I think he's only going to serve one term. Which is fine by me if that's all he wants to do. Well, he will be, 74, almost 75 by the time his first term is up? And everybody talks about how healthy he seems and is, so I think he'll fulfill the entire 4 years. But I think that he will self-term limit himself. For a number of different reasons, but mostly I think because he'll think that he can get. I think he thinks he can get a lot of what he thinks to turn this American ship around. He'll be able to put in place, especially with the GOP that controls the House and the Senate, that he'll be able to put these things into place and they'll start working. So they'll start working for him. But yes, Wanda Sykes, by the way, was in Boston, and she was basically booed off stage for her anti-Trump rant. All these people. I hear all this. Trump is a racist. Trump is a homophobe. Trump is going to take away gay rights, and Trump has said over and over again, "Look, Supreme Court said it. Gay marriage here to stay. I'm not going to try to move to change that or what have you." That's what they all said. Trump's going to take away our ability to get married. He's going to take away our gay rights to get married. No, he's not. And Trump was also on record as saying that he believes that the states should get to decide this transgender bathroom issue, but he doesn't see a problem with it. He's for it. He thinks it's a good idea. But yet, because he's a Republican, or he's got that R before his name, that he's somehow a bad guy. He's somehow bigoted, because that's the mantra. If you're a Republican, you're automatically homophobic, bigoted, and racist. But forget what you said. Forget what you stand for. Forget what you've done. You're just automatically the bigot, racist, homophobe if you're a Republican. And as I have said numerous times, Trump is not a social conservative. He is socially liberal, by far, when it comes to many social matters. Now, good or bad, that's for you to decide. I'm not going to tell you how to decide on that. But, if you think gay marriage is fine, then Trump isn't going to change anything. Yeah, well, just so you know. Just so you know. We'll be back to wrap it up, folks. Don't go away.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Did you know that you could drink a beer a day? In fact, it is highly preferable that you do. A beer a day helps prevent stroke and heart disease. A new study suggests, this is from the telegraph.co.uk, of course, the Brits, right, come up with this one. But a good old pint of beer a day should help reduce the risk of having a stroke or developing cardiovascular disease, new research has found. Well, this is also true of drinking a glass of wine a day. Up to 2 glasses of wine per day is supposed to be healthy for you. As well as drinking a shot of certain type of hard alcohols like scotch, whiskeys, or vodkas are supposed to be good for you as well. Just a shot or 2 a day. Not getting inebriated on a daily basis. That's bad for your liver and your kidneys, but just getting your alcohol, glass of alcohol a day is good for your cardiovascular system and your digestive tract as well. Some studies would suggest. So I'm not advocating people start running out and start drinking beer every day. I still prefer my glass of wine. But yeah, you can do it. Just drink modestly, and you should be very fine and a lot more healthy. Just saying. You know. Well, again, I'm back, and I'm raring to go for the rest of the week. Just back from Rancho Cordova, California. Had a great time with the CFRW out there. Hopefully you get to go again next year. Look forward to it if I get the chance. Until then, we're out of time for today, but we will be back here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'm Rod Eccles. Thanks for tuning in and listening to The Rod Eccles Show. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell everybody you know to tune in as well. Until then, have a great Monday afternoon. We'll see you here back Tuesday morning. I'm Rod Eccles. I'm out.